Recent gameplay footage showcasing The Last of Us Remake has an interesting Easter egg about NBC's hit sitcom The Office. Some eagle-eyed fans were able to spot this subtle reference, and it's led to some fan banter between two series you'd never thought would ever interact. In today's video, we'll discuss just what this reference is and what fans have to say about it. So let's dive right in. First off, the reference to The Office was spotted on TikTok. TikTok user Arzeli posted an interesting photo on their account where they explore the Pittsburgh section of Naughty Dog's Last of Us 1 remake. During the video, the poster highlighted how an office building they entered was a bit too similar to the office we've all grown to love from NBC's renowned mockumentary series. In the original video, Joel can be seen entering an office through a smashed window. As he moves across the room, players may notice seeing a bunch of fun Easter eggs to the office. These include Pam's desk, Michael's office, and even the Dunder Mifflin front door, complete with that iconic couch. The game even recreated the exact spot where Kevin sadly drops his famous homemade chili. Later on in the video, we can see that the office is in much worse condition than we remember it to be. We're not sure if that has anything to do with the monsters on the outside of it, or if it was just a result of one of Dwight's safety drills. Jim and Dwight's desk block is present, although it's certainly seen better days. Most of it has been destroyed or moved. Most of the tables have been removed from their original locations to block up the entrance. The similarities don't just end there, though. There's also the conference room, though the accounting area is notably missing. But still, there are just too many coincidences for this not to be an intentional Easter egg, and it's one that many fans have appreciated. Next, we can't help but wonder how characters from The Office would behave in a zombie apocalypse. The concept of a mockumentary going on during a zombie apocalypse sounds like an idea that's so that it's good. Can you imagine the sheer chaos The Office characters might go through if they were stuck together with nothing but Jim's leadership and Dwight's survival skills? Naughty Dog has certainly given us an interesting thought experiment with their funny reference. Many fans are now wondering which characters from The Office would likely fare the best against the infected creatures seen in The Last of Us. Considering he's prepared for almost everything, we have no doubt Dwight already has an entire set of instructions that he'd carefully explain to the rest of his co-workers. Although, we're sure many of them, especially Andy and Kevin, might be going too crazy with the stress to care about anything Dwight has to say. That said, he's definitely the guy who has weapons hidden somewhere in the office, so he's useful to have around for sure. We think Jim might be the voice of reason. He'd be trying to get people to calm down and think of the best possible solution in the bleak situation. Remember how the entrance was blocked shut due to the tables? Yeah, we definitely think that's Jim's doing. Of course, there's also Michael. We think he'd be trying to get people to be quiet, all the while yelling and having a panic attack himself. As for Stanley, if he hadn't already headed back home, he'd be passed out on the floor. Angela might be in the accountant area somewhere, trying to find a way to get her cats to survive if nothing else. Moving on, what are some other changes from The Last of Us 1 remake? Naughty Dog's remake of the first Last of Us game has done more than just give us fun Easter eggs, though. The game also includes a bunch of new features and changes that made it a worthy consideration for both old and new fans. If you're a fan of the series who's wanted to play the game at a glorious 60 frames per second, then the remake is really the best way to go. Unlike the original game, which had a couple of areas where the frame rate dipped, the remake offers a brilliantly smooth gameplay experience the entire way through. Plus, the game is also available at 4K resolution, although the frame rate is capped at 40 in this case. The looks aren't the only things that have changed, though. Players have also noted an improvement in the game's gunplay. The feedback of hitting shots has seen a significant improvement, and much of this is thanks to the PlayStation 5 haptic controller. It gives the game some much-needed realism, which boosts immersion quite extensively. There are also some gameplay changes too, like the newly added permadeath mode. This is designed for the most hardcore players. One strike and you're out in this case. So if you've already beaten the game and want an added challenge, this is the mode for you. And, considering the fact that the enemy AI is a lot better this time around, don't think you're going to sneak by that easily. Enemies in the remake are much faster than they were before and react to players far more than they did in the original game. This makes them harder to take down and overall has made the experience that much scarier. Wrapping up this segment, is the remake worth buying? Even with all these changes, the fact that the game comes at an elevated price might be a deal breaker for some players. Ultimately, it's still the same game. Yes, it has a nice coat of paint on it, but if you're someone who's unwilling to pay the same price as a brand new title for a game you've already played, then the remake might not be for you. Even with the changes we've listed above, we think the remake is only a good consideration for people who've either never played the first game yet or are simply longtime fans who want to relive the experience in the best way possible. As is, if you've played through the story and aren't too attached to the characters, we think it's alright to sit this one out. Or at the very least, wait for a sale, because $70 for a game you've mostly already played played before isn't the best deal out there. And with that, let's move to some related news. Other news, first up, HBO's The Last of Us teaser has been viewed 13 million times worldwide and may be HBO's best series yet. The hype for HBO's The Last of Us series is through the roof. The first full-length trailer for the series has managed to cross over 13 million times in just the first day. Fans have been flocking to social media sites to catch a glimpse of the new teaser. It's likely that the hype hasn't ended just yet, and the view count will continue to increase over the next couple of days as more and more people tune in to see it. HBO has been on a roll this year, with their House of the Dragon premiere managing to break records. But, considering how hyped people are for The Last of Us, we can't help but think that the video game adaptation may steal that position away from the Game of Thrones prequel next year. Either way, it's going to be a victory for HBO, and hopefully, a victory for the viewers. Next up, fans think that HBO's Last of Us series might break the video game movie curse. For the longest time, there's been a legend among video game fans that it's outright impossible to make a good video game movie. According to this, video game movies are cursed to be terrible, and Hollywood really hasn't done much of anything to prove fans wrong over the past few years. Though, The Last of Us is really gearing up to be the project that finally undoes this curse. The series has just about every element needed to make this one of the most successful video game adaptations ever made. Fans think the combination power of HBO, Pedro Pascal, and Neil Druckmann may be what's needed to finally deliver a series about a video game that doesn't flop, but we'll have to wait and see. Quite recently, Netflix's Resident Evil series fell face first into the ground after its horrendous first season, and while it's clear that The Last of Us won't be nearly as bad, we can never really be too sure. Finally, the player spots an incredibly realistic detail from Last of Us 1's remake. Naughty Dog has used the remake of their first Last of Us game as a testing ground for a bunch of new, realistic features and additions. One of the smaller changes that they've made to the game is how axes in the game work. An observant player was able to notice how consistently using an axe not only reduces its durability, but also changes its visual appearance. When an axe is close to breaking, there's a notable split starting to form from the middle. This crack widens as the axe continues to weaken until it finally breaks. The change is so subtle that we're sure many people won't even notice it, but it just goes to show how passionate the developers were when working on this remake. That's a wrap for this video. What are your thoughts on The Last of Us fun reference to The Office? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.